I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna.
And together, we created the Cognomovement system. And we'd like to welcome you to the New Life Perspectives radio show,
where we're going to be sharing with you tools, tips, and ideas that are going to change your life.
Hello, hello in UK Health Radio Land. I'm Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friend,
Bill McKenna.
And we are the pair that hosts the New Life Perspectives radio show here on the UK Health Radio Network. But we're also the pair that created the Cognomovement system. And today we have a very special friend with us. And many of you around the world know him from many of the different hats that he holds. And we're going to talk to him today about several of those. But we only have 45 minutes. We're going to need 3 years to talk about all of it, but we'll try to get it in. So welcome, Dannion Brinkley.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, I'm Dannion Brinkley. I'm an old man. I'm an international New York Times bestselling author. I'm a filmmaker and make TV shows. I write books and I study death.
That's a lot of things. And there's so many more things than that as well, you guys. Dannion, we got to meet him at the Gaia Studios recently, had some great conversations and got to see an amazing presentation with Dannion. If you have a chance, look him up online. There's just a wealth of information. But today we wanted to start with asking Dannion something that's near and dear to my heart. As I've shared with you guys this over the past 2 years, I had the unique, I don't know if it's an opportunity that I want to say, but a unique experience of sitting with 3 of my closest family members as they took their last breath. And I learned so much about what happens in the nervous system, what happens at the time of death. And to be honest, it was an astonishingly beautiful experience for me. Even though it was my closest family members. And I know that this is near and dear to you also, Dannion. So
absolutely.
What got you into serving vets and hospice? And if you will, share with us what that program's all about.
Well, and thanks for having me, Liz and Bill. And hello to everybody in England who's tuning into this, paying attention to their health. Liz, I got involved in this because in 1975, I was struck by lightning and I was declared clinically dead. And I discovered two miraculous things. Number one, no one ever dies. And number two, I didn't go to hell. So if I didn't go to hell and I'm not going to die, my life changed completely and drastically. And then I realized the fear-based relationships that people have with approaching death. And then for those who are close to it and who survive, because I was paralyzed and burning and on fire, and it took me 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself. And I was never given more than 6 months to live for probably 20 years, okay, which is the standard time of hospice. So I decided that what I needed to do was take on that mindset of trying to open up people's eyes, because I know about suffering and I know about pain and I know about that there is a life after death, and I know that. Well, I had to engage a world that I could best be of service to with what I knew, which became veterans. I am a former Marine veteran myself. So I started going to VAs and volunteers as a volunteer in end-of-life care and studying what they were going through. And as I studied it, I decided that I could not do it alone. So I created the Twilight Brigade, which became one of the largest end-of-life care volunteer programs for dying veterans in American history. And I personally accrued more than 34,000 hours at the bedside, I've been with 2,012 people going from this world to the next, and 351 taking their last breath. So who I am is trying to get people to pay attention to their health and to pay attention to being responsible for the changing times that we're living in and the proper nutrition that everyone needs.
So I'm sure that everyone else has this question as well, but Dannion, why is there a need for a Twilight Brigade? Why are people not surrounded by families in these VA hospitals? There's some kind of a gap there, obviously.
It is a trap. People get caught up in facing death. They get caught up in facing it. Well, most people know I've been dead 2 times, and I've had 3 near-death experiences over a 45-year period. Because of being struck by lightning, I had to have open heart surgery. And because of being struck by lightning, I had to have brain surgery. And because of being struck by lightning, I had to have open heart surgery. And I was never given a chance to live. But I looked at this body as a machine. Once you ever get out of this body and you realize that's all it is, it's a functioning organism necessary for your spiritual identity to operate in, then I have been able, Liz, to take this body and make it do things that science doesn't understand how I can make it get up. But it's a machine, and I'm in it, and I need it. So I have successfully raised it from the dead 3 times. And why it becomes necessary is by not facing this uncertainty. Like in my last book that's at the publishers now, it's called 10 Things to Know Before You Go. I opened the first page and I said, what's the number 1 cause of death in America and most countries? Question mark. Turn to the next page and I says, no matter what you thought, birth is the number 1 cause of death. Birth is the number 1 cause of death. Then you turn to the next page, it says, remember, if you're breathing, you're leaving. And if you just took a breath, this book is for you. So when you start to look at where people are, by not facing this and looking at, they have a lot of time here. It's allocated. And they have that a lot of time here. And not to get the absolute best out of it that you could possibly get out of it is a mistake. And if you look at death and as from a sane point of view as a part of this experience, that's all it is. You're born and you leave, and in between you just do a lot of breathing. Okay. And if you look at your physical self as importance, you're basically just a water treatment plant. So you got to take care of that water treatment plant, and you got to take care of that body. And you have to look at it so that you can get it to take you to the end of your joyous experience being in this plane of existence and growth.
My gosh, I got to tell you, for our audience worldwide, this is, I've heard it said he was the most dead man on the planet, having died literally clinically twice, not once, but twice. It's crazy. I got to ask you, for the audience here globally, and I want to spend a lot of time, what what we really want to know about is how to recover the body. So we'll get into that in a couple minutes, but tell us, how the heck do you have, well, I think 6 near-death experiences with 2 actual deaths? Tell us about it. How did that happen?
No, it's easy. I had a death experience being struck by lightning, 28 minutes.
20.
Okay. And then I had open heart surgery 13 years later.
Okay.
Because of complications of how this body has died. You can't take that much electricity. And it went down, hit me in the side of the head, went down my spine, welded the nails of the shoes to the heels in the floor, threw me in the air, slammed me back down on the bed. I was blinded, wore welder's glasses for 2 years. I mean, I'm talking about horrible, horrible, paralyzing pain for years.
Wow.
All right. And then I had to have open heart surgery, which was a near death experience. Remember, there's a world, a wondrous world that awaits everybody when they're on the way home. There's a few things you're going to have to do when you take your last breath. There's a few things you have to go. You have to have a life review. You're going to have to do 2 or 3 things, and then you're just off home. So you figure out what you want to do next. So based on having open heart surgery, it took me like a year to get over that. And I had to do vancomycin. I had to give myself IVs, Bill, to put because I had staph infection. I had to give myself for 9 months, twice a day, 2 liters of vancomycin, like kerosene. Okay. Then I flew from San Francisco. This is 7 years later. I flew from San Francisco to South Carolina and dropped dead. I blew subdural hematomas in my brain. And
Wow.
they rushed me in to do brain surgery. I spent 41 hours in the recovery room. They couldn't wake me up. And then in 2018, because of damage of being struck by lightning, I had to have a second open heart surgery. And in that second open heart surgery, I came out of surgery with no pulse, no respiration, no nothing. And this nurse has done a 12-hour shift, and he said something told him this man needed to live. So he came back and worked 2 more hours on me and got my blood pressure to 56/20. Okay. The doctor told my brother, my sister, and Catherine, my wife at the time, that I may make it 10 days. I had another near-death experience. Okay. So that's 3 near-death experiences. Then at 4 days later, on a Sunday morning at 2 a.m., I went into cardiac arrest, dead. All the buzzers, beeps, and everything going on, except that I came out, was standing beside the nurse, telling the other nurses who were banging on my chest and clearing my throat, putting the oxygen mask on me. I'm standing next to her. That's dead. They resuscitate me. Takes about 9 or 10 minutes. They resuscitate me. I stay 15 minutes and I flatline again. I come out of my body again, did the same thing. It's just my perspective changed. So when I say 2 death experiences, dead for 28 minutes and then dead and being resuscitated, that's dead. The other was open heart surgery and brain surgery, okay, where I had near-death experiences. But I also had hand surgery with nothing, went to sleep, took whatever the anesthesia was, went to sleep, came out of it, woke up, and I had back ablations because the lower part of my back, the lightning has literally made it brittle, crumbly. So how I got so the way I am and so dogmatic about my viewpoints is you cannot tell me that there's not a life after death. And you cannot tell me, because I have seen this gateway 4 times in my life with clarity. I didn't read it in a book. I didn't theorize it. And I paid the price to know it. I paid the price because I keep getting up. And I keep doing what I said I was sent back to do. And I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep getting up till I can push this body to where I cannot make it work again. So I want everybody who's listening to this program to know this, no matter what. You are a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being. You have dignity, you have direction, and you have purpose. There's only one thing that can ever go wrong in your inner holiest place, is you allow something to affect your dignity, which skews your direction and your purpose. And not taking care of yourself and paying attention to your health is the trap. That's the trap.
That is such a huge statement, Dannion. the not taking care of your dignity, something that injures your dignity. And that was something I witnessed with the family members, my family members that passed. That was the catalyst years before they died. But let's take a break. I know we're all on the edge of our seats. We want to know about the near-death experiences. Let's take our quick break and hear from the UK Health Radio Network. Take it away. And we're back. We're back with Dannion Brinkley, and we were talking about his many, many near-death experiences. So I know this is something that's near and dear to Bill McKenna's heart as well. But Dannion, would you start to tell us what happened when your body's on the table and you're in a death experience as far as everyone else is concerned? What was actually happening for you? What did you experience?
Oh, first thing you experience in all of the times near death or death experience is that you never die. The whole story of that, you, no matter what a religion tells you, an institution tells you, a government tells you, a guru tells you, nobody ever dies. It does not ever happen. So once you have that as a point and a value and a perspective, you own your life again. So what happened to me was when everybody does this, you will lift out of your body. You'll be happy about it too. You'll be happy because you know your job was done. Then you will witness what's going on around you and acclimate yourself to where you were, because you know you're going somewhere else and you know that's what's happening. It's not maybe, or I'm all scared. Is the devil coming? And blah, 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 blah. You're going to feel the presence. And if you are so frightened of it still, there'll be someone who you know and someone who you can trust to come and get you. I have spent tens of thousands of hours, 34,000 hours studying this art form of like what you were describing about the family. Liz, I know every detail of any event that would happen watching family dynamics and palliative and end-of-life care. So once you come down, you'll get to a place, either cross a tunnel or go down a tunnel or cross a bridge or come across something that knows that you have shifted your consciousness. You know, like going from the big city to a meadow. And you feel the presence of so many things. Right in there, usually you meet everyone that you'd ever seen. And how you do it is you have something called a life review. You see your life in a 360-degree panorama. And you watch it from a second-person point of view as though you were your own best friend. Someone to mock you and someone to laugh at you and someone to make fun of you, but somebody who loves you. And you see how funny and silly and dumb you are, but you're looking at. Then you will literally become every person that you ever encountered. You become them and you see the direct interaction between you and them. But what it shows is intention. When you're looking at the direct action, it's the reason why. Someone could have said something really, really bad to you that made you mad and hurt your feelings, but they were doing it for your own good the best way they knew how. And once you understand that part, you begin to see a place that you grew or didn't grow. And after that, you ask yourself a question. If whatever you believe to be divine couldn't come today, and that divine, and we'll quote it as God, couldn't come today, and that God sent you, then in the life you just reviewed, what difference did you and that divine force make if you believed in that? It's still a question. So it drove me to be a hospice volunteer for veterans because I am a veteran and I survived. And where could I best focus that skill set that I have at creating a closure system and a value structure that allows that person to leave and gives the family members, based on all their business, some kind of comfort as they work through the grief process, the anger process, and the abandonment process. Now, baby boomers born between 1940 and 1967, in America, there's 72.3 million of us. And the average life expectancy in America is 78.3 years. So everybody around me and everybody who's probably listening to this show can look at who they are and then get a good grip on where they are in their life. And right now is the time you take a hold of it, you balance it out, you get your nutrition in your system, and you change whatever habits that you know you have seen people go through in the horrors of the medical establishment that's going on in the world. I know that was a little long, Billy, but what can I tell you, honey?
I loved it. Boy, it's so interesting to know from somebody who's been there multiple times of what we can expect, right? Because, nobody knows. You don't know. It just,
I know. Wait
you
a second.
know.
I know.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
It's wonderful.
I wouldn't be telling, I'm always straight, Bill. You know me. I wouldn't be telling it if I was not trying to make a difference in the lives of people as I watch them be terrified, manipulated, and used over something that will never happen. It will never happen. You have never, until a person had a near-death experience and began to be categorized, there was no real point of representation in this death process that existed. No religion, no institution, no government, no guru. All that stuff is malarkey. Okay, and not that it's bad for people to use a certain system to face something, but there's so many of us who've come back who talk the same things that I'm saying. I just happen to be dead longer, and I happen to have had all those prophecies and all those things that became the future and all that stuff that just happened to me, but it doesn't make me any greater or lesser than them. I believe it reinforces the fact that what I said I did and what I said happened to me happened. And yes, in 2 places, I changed where it was and how it was, because if I told where it was and how it was, I would expose other people who were a part of the program, and they weren't selling books. They weren't out selling books. They weren't out trying to build a hospice organization. And so I changed 2 places. Other than that, I'm just straight. Nobody's going to die. Okay? And I doubt anybody's going to hell. Because I didn't go to hell. And if I didn't go to hell, there's virtually no chance anybody else that is going to hell. So I've eliminated 2 things from reality. Number 1, you ain't going to die. And number 2, you're not going to hell. And number 3, you're going to face yourself. You're going to face yourself, and you're going to see your intentions, and you're going to see your acts. Okay? Now, my first one was horrible. I was a mean, pushy, bully, big old lumbering jerk. And I thought you hit it in the face before you did anything else. Okay, so when you become that you're a spiritual being, all that stuff has to go away. And you think it's hard to let go of habits. Well, it's not hard to let go of habit knowing that I could get struck by lightning again. And knowing that I didn't know open heart surgery, brain surgery, and open heart surgery was coming. And when the doctor looked inside of me, Liz, she looked inside of me and she saw all the scar tissue and the damage to my heart. And when I looked back inside, she gave me 10 days. Wow. She gave me 10 days. And y'all all you better get your stuff done and get your business taken care of and blah, 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 blah. When my brother told me that, I laughed. And I thought the other day, I said, you want to see what post-traumatic stress disorder is? Go see my brother and my sister and ask them how many times they've come to tell me goodbye.
Actually, Dannion,
that
brings me to a question. It just popped in my mind as you were talking about this, having sat with a few people, not as many as you, but a few. So you're in that moment, you leave your body, you see your body, everybody's there. what is something that a person who's sitting with someone who dies can do? What would you hope they would do after, as you leave your body and you see everybody there? You said your brother and sister went through, stress. What would you hope they would do instead? What's some advice for people who are in the experience of letting someone go, of watching them pass?
I'll tell you what I do. I celebrate their life and I hold space. I'm celebrating a life. They're getting to go home. Okay. They've done their job. They lived there a lot of time. Okay. And I'm going to celebrate their life, and I'm going to open up my heart, and I'm going to hold that space for them, so that all those issues of being abandoned, all the things, I know what goes on in everybody's mind, Liz. I know what furniture each person wants. I mean, I see it all, but I'm going to hold that glorious space. Someone has to celebrate that life, and I'm holding a space that they found closure and know that their life had matter, and that they were loved and that they loved. And if you do that, there is a flow that comes back. It's like a steam that comes off of there, propelling outward and going home, and you feel it flow through you. A lot of people say that they see that person come to them or see them. I mean, I've heard every one of those stories. Okay. And I've studied the near-death experience for 44 years. And I've studied the panoramic life review, which everybody's going to have. You can rationalize, you can hope somebody's going to come and save you from it, but that puppy is not going to happen. You will face you. And the worst part about that is you will be impressed under the conditions you came here to operate under, how well you had held the course. Because I've seen myself through 45 years of this, and I saw the future. Anybody who reads my book, Saved by the Light, At Peace in the Light, Secrets of the Light, I went 50 years into the future in 1975 and said exactly where we would be and what would be going on. And in 1975, I said that the battle for the souls of humankind would be fought in healthcare. And we are there today.
So we need to take a quick break. Let's talk about that after the break, because it's a big subject. But I just want to say, Dannion, I'm so happy to hear that that's your advice for what a person should do, because that's what I did in that moment, sitting with my family members. And it was, different people at different time. I just happened to be the one there, and I don't think that's a mistake. And I equate it to the expectancy we have when there's a birth coming. You know how you're so excited and there's this beautiful flow and it's the most natural thing. That's what I just did in reverse.
Is it a boy? Is it a girl?
Yeah. I just sat with them with that joy, knowing that they were going home and it was going to be so lovely and so beautiful. And in all three cases, there was this beautiful transition. No hysteria, just pure love. So I'm glad I did it right. I hope I don't have to do it again soon. But it really, as I think about it, it was a beautiful experience, even though I was losing people that I love from this experience. But I knew I wasn't losing them at all. So with my dad, I'll just share this.
See everybody again.
Yeah. With my dad, I'll just share this quick story. Now, my parents did not believe in an afterlife of any kind. The religion they were in believed that when you died, you just died. Nothing, no hell, no heaven, no nothing. So I came home to my house after he died in his own home, and I'd been there with him for days. I came home, and my dad used to do this funny thing. If he winked at you, he always winked 3 times. Bink, bink, bink. So I walk in the door, and the light over my kitchen table is doing bink, 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 bink. So no missing it. So I call my daughter and I said, hey, when Grandpa winked, what did she do? She said, he always winked 3 times. So I said, guess what the light over the kitchen table is doing right now? So even though he had no belief in an afterlife, He made it clear that he was here in my kitchen just for a moment. It's just for a little bit. All right. So
I support that. I support that, Liz. I support it because being at this for 40 years and tens of thousands of hours, this is one more way that they wanted to let you know you were right, and in a way that only you would know.
right.
And see,
Right.
if you had never said this, if you had never said it on the air, you'd had that moment. Why? Because you held that space open. You celebrated the journey home, which leaves a level of energetic actions, probably around 773 hertz. It creates a level of frequency that you could pass from that level of energy back into this one.
Yeah.
I get it. No problem.
And I love what you said about holding the space, because that's really what it felt like. The same way you hold the space for a new one to come on the planet, you hold the space for the other way around. All right, we have to take another break. Gosh, this conversation is going so fast. Let's hear from the UK Health Radio Network. Okay, and we are back. We're back with Dannion Brinkley having an amazing conversation about hospice, death and dying, near-death experiences, and more. So Dannion, will you talk about a little bit about what you were saying? You said that you saw the future. Was that during a near-death experience or after?
And doing the first one. I mean, the first one was the biggest one, okay? And all the rest of them were just parts of unfolding the first one. Okay, so I got to see my panoramic life review. And then being was with me. And I went to what I called a crystal city. I mean, I had no other way to describe it, but it was like a cathedral made of glass. And when I went in there, there were 13 beings. There were 12 beings in front of me. And what they looked like was radiating light, red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, and blue. Red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, and violet. And they were emanating, and it was emanating from them. And then I could see them. And then just to the far right, above the last one, a 13th being appeared, and that being would point to one of the beings. Okay, there was no looking or seeing. Whatever that hand movement would do was pointing to the being, and then that being radiated so that its colors, like a peacock spreading its feathers, its colors moved outward, and this information moved from its chest. It moved toward me, and it was like a laptop. I used to laugh and say, maybe I died and went to the Best Buy, but it looked like a little laptop, and it would open up, and I would see an event. What was different from the world I was in and the event was I could smell the smells of the interaction of the event. And so when I could write, which was probably a year, when I could write, I started writing them down, and I had them in Nifty Sparrow notebooks. And what I thought they were markers that I had to be on to finish the can that I was sent back to finish. Okay. And so I said, I never thought about it as future events. When people would ask me about it, I call that Nostradanian era. That was the Nostradanian section of the near-death experience. Because and as the years, Dr. Raymond Moody called me about 4 years later, and because I had only told Raymond about this, Dr. Moody, and he called me, and it's literally the words I had given to Raymond about what would happen in the Soviet Union and all of that business came true as if I wrote the article. And so Raymond came, and so we've watched these things for now 45 years. And each of these boxes, when I sat down to write Saved by the Light, because I got mad, finally I got mad about something because I saw Raymond in a very stressed out situation because he didn't know, he'd never had a near-death experience. And yet he was dealing with his whole world as a philosopher and as a forensic psychiatrist and a professor. He was watching the world crush him. And the world depended on Raymond to have some place to go. If you've had this experience, cardiopulmonary resuscitation keeps bringing it back in chemistry, understanding chemistry in the body and the genetics, how it operates. And somebody needed to stand up for all those people out there who's had this kind of experience and had nobody to talk to. And somebody had to stand up and to defend them. And I just figured that everybody should decide to pick on somebody their own size. And I decided that was me. And so I put in there the boxes of knowledge with Paul Perry, and it's not exactly the way I saw it, but within English, written in English, it's exactly the chronological history of America and the Western world and part of the Middle East and the Far East, where we would be today if we kept doing the same things that we had been doing. And this is just after the Vietnam War. So it's very easy for me, Liz and Bill, to look and see that what I wrote down in 1996, when I had that experience, and cohesively through these experiences to where I am today. 30 years ago, I wrote it in a book that sold millions of copies. So either I was hallucinating when I was dead, or I was having a near-death experience, or the thought pattern in a quantum level that multi-timelines exist and that I could move across multi-timelines, and that whatever that box was and whatever that being was able to move me, not literally in the future or in the past, but across a timeline that would allow me to see that. I always, Bill, have to hunt some place that in logic that I can find around me that this stuff makes sense. It doesn't have to make sense, but it's still true. But it has to make sense to me. Okay, so that's how I see it. So I have one thing that was bothering me was right now the big issue about Jerusalem showed itself just recently with the president moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which has not happened yet. I mean, that was just a press release. That has not happened. And the fact that Jordan would begin to disappear. Well, when I look at that, I watch the settlements into the West Bank, which has been Jordan. That was Jordan. The old city was Jordan. And as they're building new settlements and there is no stopping it, then that probably 88% of the population of Jordan is Palestinian. And you watch that, then that reinforces the boxes of knowledge too.
It seems like to me, Dannion, the thought just came, knowing all this information must feel like a big responsibility. Does it feel like that to you or something else?
Well, after being able to watch the future and watch it unfold and do what I was supposed to do at all costs, whatever it was that was thrown at me, I had to get up and I had to keep going until I get it done. And I had 12 boxes to go through. Okay, I had 12, it turned out to be 45 years. All right, but I thought I had them in 1993. I believe that there is a world force trying to drive us all into helplessness and despair, okay, for a lot of reasons. And I have no problems about it. And I wrote it down. I described it. The battle for the souls of humankind will be fought in healthcare. We are there. So the most important thing for everybody that's on this network is pay attention to your health. And my biggest push, Liz, and everybody who knows me knows how I am about trace minerals. I'm a big Linus Paulding fan, everybody. And he says that every illness can be deduced down to a lack of a certain trace mineral or combination thereof. And he has twin Nobel Prizes. And I use trace minerals as the basis of every time I get sick or every time I have a problem. I do it every.
Sorry, give us
Excuse
an
me?
example. Give us an example of what a trace mineral is for our audience globally. A lot of people don't know what is a trace mineral and what is that, and a little bit of information on that.
Okay. Okay, the body. Every compound, enzyme, and solution reaction. Every compound, enzyme, and solution reaction. That's everything that's happening in your body chemically. Does it with the trace mineral. There's 66 base trace minerals. It's just earth. I mean, the earth has iron and calcium, potassium, magnesium, zinc. Okay. All of these are trace minerals and they're metals. Okay. And they go into the body. We are the planet we walk on. You know, we are the planet that we walk on. We are a composition of it. It's a composition of us. We live in, and so I see that trace minerals, the body hunts sugar at 10, 2, 4, and 7, Bill and Liz. So I take my trace minerals just before, so that as my body is looking for sugar, it's going to move those trace minerals into the position when the sufficient trace mineral is there. Your body's going to move it into position to where it's most needed for a reaction, compound, solution, enzyme, or compound reaction. Okay, it's needed, and then I can build my diet off of that. I build my diet. I have a regimen that I have done every day for 45 years, and when I get sick, I go to fruit. I sweat the sugar, the sweetness of the sugar. I sweat that, you know. But I can take fruit and my trace minerals and my base vitamins, B complex, time release, magnesium and potassium. Those are trace minerals, but I add them. Then I can fight any illness. I don't care what it is. And I use frequency and sound. I use Stephen Halpern's tapes and I get him to put 528 frequency in it. I put those headsets on. I eat fruit. I take those vitamins and I breathe. I don't need nobody to visit me. I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to know. Just leave me alone and let me stay as far away from this body so it has the nutrition it has in it to do it. And everybody who's listening, you think too much and don't take enough action. You think about it, but you don't do it. But if you don't do it, you're committing suicide. If you're not taking your trace minerals every day today, because of the content of the trace minerals in the foods that we eat is nothing, then you're making a mistake and you can bring it down to suicide. But you know what, Bill? Everybody who knows that the world that they're living in is changing, okay? And it is changing fast. And there are a lot of people that are still holding on to thinking we're in the 90s. Well, we're not. A new world is being created around us, and it will be designed to control us through our health care. What will you not do to protect your children and your grandchildren, your parents and yourself? War will not be the end all be all. It will be health care. And I have known this for 45 years. And if people look, you can buy Saved by the Light. In England, it's Judy Piatkus. Piatkus Publishing has Saved by the Light. Secrets of the Light's Piatkus Publishing. I mean, my books are there. And I think there's 10 Things to Know is coming. But you can go and read where the future is. And for me, it's been a long run. You know? It's been a long run to get here, but I just have to watch May 30th of this year, July the 4th of this year, and November the 8th.
What's the significance
And I'll know
of
which
those?
course.
Oh, tell us about the
I will
significance.
know the course that America has taken. In how it establishes whether it's for us or against us, how it establishes itself in healthcare. Everything has to do with healthcare, Bill. My lane is that. My lane is healthcare, and to back engineer it, because most people are terrified of getting sick. And if you can scare them with a shot to make them leave the people they love or desert the people they love or not be around them in end of life, that is pure evil.
Yeah.
That is evil. Okay, so I'm sorry. I hope everybody's happy about it. But you can read the book and look at the patents. You can see that I saw what it was, and my job is palliative and end-of-life care, and to push home health care, to create an environment where that person can come home, and everybody in the nursing home wants to be home. Well, we need to go back there. And if we're in a pandemic-driven world or a plandemic-driven world, then home health care has to be the moniker that we set up as a standard, and I will watch that. Memorial Day is an important day. It is for we who are veterans, who I think are the last stand. All of us are veterans, no matter what country it is. We are the people who risk our lives. And then I'll watch July the 4th and see what happens in several bills and that the Senate and the House are in conference refereeing them. And then the midterm election, and then November the 8th, 4 days after. And I'll know. I won't have to wonder. I'll know, and then I can take direct action to finish my part.
We got to have you on again, man. We have run out of time. Big tip here. Number one, you don't die. Everybody goes to heaven. And while you're here, trace minerals. Dannion, thank you so much for your time, for being here today. Liz, tell us everything.
But thank you. Listen, thank you, Liz and Bill. Come on, that you guys are putting this out there and trying to get people to pay attention to themselves in a world that's changing so very fast. I am thankful to both of you.
Well, we're thankful for you and the pioneering work that you're doing as well. Would you tell everybody right before we go, where can they find you? Do you have a website? Is there a Facebook page? Where can they find you? The easiest way.
The easiest way is Facebook, or go to lightstreamers.com. A friend of mine has, I don't really care about all that stuff, Liz. A friend of mine has set up a site, lightstreamers.com. Somebody sent me yesterday, they sent me a clip, and it showed the searches of Secrets of the Light. 4,690,000,000 searches.
Wow.
Wow.
So lightstreamers.com, everyone. Go there and you can find out everything about Dannion Brinkley.
That's everything that's going on.
We love it. So again, Dannion, thank you so much.
And that I love them. I want everybody in the UK Health Network to know that I love them and I honor them.
So beautiful. All right, UK Health Radio listeners, this has been Dannion Brinkley with us. We'll have him back again. I know there's so much more to talk about. Thanks, Dannion. Thanks, Bill. See you guys all again next week. Thanks for being here with us on the New Life Perspective radio show. For more information or to find out more about the work that Bill and I do, please visit us at cognomovement.com or email us at info@cognomovement.com. See you again soon.